This video is intended to demonstrate how the algebraic models were determined for example 3. All of these will be cos functions. Let's start with 3a. First of all, the amplitude, or the parameter a in our function. To determine that, we want to find the maximum and the minimum, and then find the difference between those and divide by 2. Now be careful of the scale here. The maximum occurs at 1/4. The minimum occurs at -1/4. So to determine the amplitude, we're going to take 1/4, subtract -1/4, our max, subtract our min, and then divide by 2. 1/4 minus -1/4 gives us 2/4, or a half, and then we're going to divide that by 2. We end up with 1/4. So that's our amplitude. Now to determine our value of k, we're going to look at how many cycles of the cos function occur in our normal period of 0 to 360, which is the usual period for cosine. So let's first of all draw a box around one cycle. There's one cycle of cos. Let's draw another one. There's a second cycle, a third cycle, and one more cycle. We have 4 cycles of cosine occurring between 0 and 360. So our k value will be 4. Again, k represents the number of cycles that occur in our usual period for cosine when it isn't transformed, which is usually 360. But in this case, since we have transformed it, we have 4 cycles occurring, so k is 4. We can then write down our algebraic model. F of x is equal to, the amplitude again was 1/4, cos 4x. Now let's do 3b. Again, let's start with the amplitude. The maximum is 2, the minimum is -2. The amplitude will be 2 take away -2 divided by 2. This will be, this will give me 4/2, and the amplitude is 2. Now, do be careful. Usually cosine starts up at the max and goes down. If we take a look back at 3a, just flipping back quickly, you can see it starts up high and then goes down to its minimum and then finishes back up at its maximum. This is the usual look of a single cycle for cos. But as you can see here, we are not starting up at the maximum, we are starting down at the minimum. So when we write our algebraic model, we're going to have to make sure that we put a negative to indicate that this has been reflected about the x-axis. Now let's deal with the value of k. To determine the value of k, we're going to determine how many cycles we have between 0 and 360. So let's draw, again, rectangles around one cycle. There we have one cycle of our cosine function. And now we have 2 cycles. 2 cycles occurring between 0 and 360. Therefore, our k value is 2. We can now write our function. F of x is equal to, don't forget the negative to indicate the reflection around the x-axis, -2 cosine 2x.